Hello, all.
Hello. I'm going to tell you about myself. I was born in Colorado. I had a regular childhood. I'd go outside and play. I had friends, family. It was a good life. And then something happened. Life got pretty strange because when I was around 21, I became hearing. And you might be curious what that means because I wasn't born hearing. I was not born hearing. I could hear fine. When my mom would talk on the phone, an alarm, whatever was around me, I could hear it. But I was not labeled as a hearing person. I went to the Colorado Institute of the Deaf Blind. And you're probably like, why did you go there if you are not deaf? Well, the moment I was born, I didn't realize I was different. I was straightforward, and it never crossed my mind before. But from that minute, when I was born, everything changed. And the first time in my life, everything kind of was different. Because now I was considered normal. Or not normal anymore. And that took me kind of by surprise. Hearing is not normal for me. So my identity is the foundation of my thinking. I was hearing. And that kind of thinking, different questions popped up, like what does it mean to be hearing? What does it mean? And recently I graduated from the college. I got my diploma. 4 years graduated, got my education, went to the Deaf Institute. Everything was good. I went to 2 separate schools actually. I gave my time to teach education. And because of that reason. So when I became hearing, that means something was missing to me. And my education focused away from signing. I had other hearing influences in my education. A different situation. And I started to realize the history of my thoughts and how they had been passed down to me years after years. And I'm seeing them now and how hearing shaped my identity. I felt like I had a new path because I was hearing. So I started to analyze myself. Who am I? Who are these people? And my attention was all over the place. So my hearing path was an important thing to me. The reason being, it was important for me to sign. Because when you're hearing, you're hearing. You can hear what's being said. Hearing people think differently. So it's a new word, hearing. How to sign it depends on the different context. So it's interesting for me as a person, a late hearing person who went to a deaf school, who was born with a hearing identity, to eventually become hearing and have that positive mindset. But really, I learned many different things that dealt with that. Number one is my point of perspective. Many people have one perspective. So for many years, I thought this was my path, this straight, flat path. Every day, it was hard to see the round, big picture, the other side. I was just seeing the flat side. And I realized it's not flat, it's round. Other ideas, I thought I was the center of everything. It feels like that, right? That the world revolves around you. You know, you don't think, 500 people, but that's not true. But that was my perspective. And I had the wrong information, and I had to shift my perspective. So that's called geocentric. But we'll discuss other ones later. So phonocentrism, that's the idea that our hearing perspective, our language, our speech, they're the same, interchangeable. And that, through many years, is what people think, again, related to the geocentrism, that it's only this one way, this one path, one perspective. But we have to kind of shift it to the other perspectives. So right now, there has been research to find how hearing is related to the brain, language with ears, language with eyes, and the brain itself is ready to make a language. And that research is very important right now. And many people are looking into it. The brain itself in full, with signs, spoken language. Biologically, it's equivalent. So it's interesting because the topic of a hearing perspective is kind of wrong. Because of that foundation, that concept, the normalcy of the language. And now that's wrong because we have to take a second look and really analyze it. How to describe it? Literacy, reading and writing, more focus on that again. Look into that again. Literature, in relation to sign, we got to look more in depth in there. How language first came to be and started. How people took up that language. And now, really, the brain. It does not look like how it did before. It's very different. So textual studies, what that means, and how we learn gestures with visuals and build upon that, the access in that language. So human nature now, compared to human being, and that's a second look into the hearing world. We know how we've arrived to this language as humans and how hearing identity is missing this information. Okay, so another thing to discuss is eye contact. And it's interesting, eye contact, really, because if you look, Deaf people use their eyes. It's amazing, their use. And the contact that they learn through that and growing up with that eye contact. But hearing people, it's interesting to see how they'll talk, but they don't even have to look at each other. They can be standing right next to each other. So think about the setup between confidence in your body and deaf gain that is given between eye contact. And we can help the hearing people with eye contact themselves and really be able to connect and interact with their situations or conversations. So that's a new psychology term, deaf gain versus hearing loss. Again, we have a lot to learn about hearing people and how to use their eyes. So number 3, it connects with the classroom. Again, eye contact in the classroom, the ecology of that. So focusing on the hearing classroom, here's a picture. You have all the desks set up in rows, because that's normal. Okay. What kind of connections do we have? Who's talking behind you? Who's in front of you? You don't know. You see backs and fronts of heads. We're all independently working. That's a hearing classroom. So one possibility is we all sit in a circle or a round formation. So when we enter, the first thing is eye contact. And you can notice all these people around you and connect with all these other people. And that starts the conversation. But it's different than hearing loss. You have to teach, again, the deaf gain and the different behaviors. So the other topic is being deaf yourself. Biologically, you're labeled as having a problem that needs to be fixed. Hearing people are considered, oh, I'm healthy, I don't have to worry. But this deaf person, oh, I feel bad for them, they have a problem. And that limits their thinking. So I go to my house, I go to sleep, and if I have an alarm clock, the alarm clock will wake me up, and I turn it off. But the point is, it's my body. I feel the stress of hearing. A lot of other problems with hearing. So really, hearing is a serious stressor for people. And that behavior is interesting. The next thing of how to deal with that is you can't turn your hearing off. So my point is, hearing, deaf, is one better than the other? They're just different. I'm not deaf. I live my life, I'm fine with that. But do you have to fix someone who is deaf to become hearing? To make them better? So think about that. learn how to live your life and also look at this different perspective. And the last, or one of the other things, the concept of really analyzing respecter. Re means again. Specter means to look again. So it means a second look. Reanalyze yourself, the world. Stop and just wait a minute to look at everything that's happened so far. Analyze that. Analyze yourself. Analyze each other. So really, to become hearing, that means you have to take a second look at who you are, at the people around you, your perception on things, and yourself. Who am I means, where am I? What has happened to me so far? Know that. Analyze that. Pick things out. Figure it all out. And also, the reasons why I guess or look at other people the way. Why do I do that? Really analyze that. And also look at your knowledge. Where did your education come from? That system. And experiencing your normalcy. And also diversity. It's very important and valuable to know. It's global. Do research on deafness. Look at that perspective. Variety. So all of that together, looking at that benefits your studies. And lastly, our rules of stating hearing loss. Thank you.